Okay, please. So before going to plastics processing, I would like to mention what are green technologies. So today's the need of the hour is, so you should innovate in any technology which is obsolete and has to be modified, and it is to be upgraded, and it used to be giving a good results than the earlier technology. So the green technology means upgradation of the existing one, which can contribute to the development of the process, or it can enhance the production capacity. It will reduce the production time, and so that the energy consumption is less. And apart from that, it should also be a environmentally concerned process. It should be, that means it should be as less as possible. The environment should be polluted due to the pollutants, and completely you can talk about the environmental effects, mainly carbon dioxide you discuss about. The CO2 emissions has to be reduced. So you may say that in plastic processing, how the CO2 emission is coming, right? So the CO2 emissions, how it will contribute. Plastic processing is a generally what are the plastic materials I'll discuss first. Okay, later we will go about the topic. What I want to say is now the green technology or green concept is mainly to reduce the carbon dioxide emissions. That is one of the aspects. Okay, so by what do you mean by in a plastics you are having a granules, you are having an injection molding machine, and when you mold it, how the carbon dioxide is emitted from there? Absolutely, the answer is the plastic materials are very clean materials. Their processing is does not release any pollutants in the environment. They will be inside the extruder, they will be or inside the barrel in injection molding. It is melted into a liquid form, and the high molten stage it is forced into a cavity, whatever the shape you want. By solidification you get the product. This is the thermoplastics processing. Why I say thermoplastics? Because plastics materials are broadly classified into thermosets and thermoplastics. This you must be, everybody must be aware about this. So generally the thermoplastics, whatever the plastics are there, they will be processed
Excuse
by
me, sir. Sir, excuse me, sir. सर आपकी
yes.
पीपीटी मूव नहीं हो रही है.
शो नहीं हो रही है?
नहीं शो तो हो रही है,
यस
मूव नहीं हो रही है
सर.
आपने.
यस सर, काफी देर से नहीं हो रही है सर ये पीपीटी. मैं भी देख.
नहीं मैं स्टॉप करके बात रहा हूँ.
ठीक है, ओके सर, ओके सर.
No, I have not started my processing lecture. I am giving the introduction about it.
Okay, thank you, sir.
How the carbon dioxide emissions are related. How you can evaluate green technology in plastic processing. This is what I am discussing, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So
Sorry,
when you say that the plastics is melted and solidified by cooling, and you get a product. So in that the electricity is consumed, right? The most important thing is a thermoplastic material, like say for example polypropylene. You have a bucket or plastic mug which is made up of polypropylene. Okay, so when you mold this, the energy required is electricity mainly. So electric band heaters will be there for an injection molding machine. So where you will have this melt is produced, and that melt is accumulated and injected into the mold. So for that you are needing electricity. So the electricity, where from it comes? Mainly if it is a thermal hydropower plants are where some of the parts in India we have a hydropower plants, and majority is thermal power. So in the thermal power you have to burn the coal. So unless you burn the coal, you cannot produce the steam which is required for producing the electricity. So therefore, more the electricity you consume in your process, in plastic processing, so more the carbon dioxide is eliminated into the, liberated into the environment. So this is how the carbon dioxide emissions are related with plastic processing. Directly, you don't see any carbon dioxide coming in a plastics molding process, but the electricity which you are using will certainly contribute to the emissions of carbon dioxide into the environment. So with this, what we understand is you evolve a process which is a which adds to a green technology. That means you upgrade the system. So instead of one cycle time, you will be producing a plastic bucket or mug for 2 minutes or 1 minute like that. Example. So if you reduce the time by even for few seconds, or you make it 30 seconds, 40 seconds. That means your injection molding machine is no advanced machine, which is advanced than the earlier machine, so that you are consuming a very less electricity and producing the products in more numbers. That means you are minimizing the usage of the electricity. No way you can make zero emission of carbon dioxide in any process. Absolutely not possible, because without the consumption of energy, you cannot convert the raw material to the finished product. In that sense, you talk, the plastics itself are green materials. Of course, there is a different debate, different forum I can talk why the plastic materials are blamed for wrong reasons and it is producing pollution, all those things, what we are seeing it and how to control that is a different aspect. Okay, but generally we are living in a plastic age now. Without plastic materials, nothing can move. You take your starting from your toothbrush early morning, you go to the space rocket or satellite, wherever it is, you have to have the plastic materials. So whatever you see, the carry bag and all is not just the plastic material. Of course, carry bag can be completely avoided. It can be banned, and by that 70% of the pollution straight away you can reduce in the environment, if not zero. So the milk sachets, oil sachets, whatever you have, so this has to be existed. You cannot zero it, the plastic usage in the particularly packaging. So the carry bag is the concept which we don't take any basket to the shop or grocery and you buy so many of carry bags and you throw them into the environment, and we are making the environment polluted, not the plastic material. So this is a different forum where I'm an expert in the plastics recycling, that I can discuss when time comes. In any other occasion I can discuss on that. Now let us go about plastics processing. Okay, now as I told you in the initially, I am discussing here only about thermoplastics. Thermoplastics are usually manufactured and supplied in virgin form as granules, chips, powders, which have to be processed. Generally in the plastic materials, just I will take few more minutes for the introduction. The plastic materials are petrochemical byproducts, right? So when you produce the petroleum, I mean, you dig the petroleum, a fossil fuel from the earth, which is in a highly thick and black color oil. So this crude oil, if you are sending it to refinery, okay, refinery is a big township where we have the various products of the petroleum will be generated. First, as you know, we produce the low boiling liquid, that is the gasoline or petrol. Then we go for the next distillation fraction will be diesel, and then some hydrocarbons. Finally, you take benzene. So many kind of small hydrocarbons will come later. First will be gasoline. So after producing the petrol, diesel, and some hydrocarbons, the oil becomes useless. It will become useless. So this oil will have a highly thick, I mean, initially the crude oil itself is highly viscous. When you remove these distillants, I mean, gasoline, diesel, all these things, then we will have only a very highly thick oil which is remaining. So the invention came just like that, and the chemical technologists, they have subjected this crude oil, I mean the waste crude oil, to a cracking process. Cracking process will be a reactor bed where we will have the catalyst. On that, the crude oil is, that remaining fraction is generally known as naphtha, which is a useless material. So this naphtha is cracked and produced, dismantled into small gaseous molecules, and that particularly that gas again you distill it, you get ethylene gas, propylene gas, butadiene, isobutylene. These kind of so many gases will come in that. So these gaseous materials, gaseous fractions will be compressed into the liquid form, and then ethylene is converted into polyethylene, propylene is converted into polypropylene, butadiene is converted into butadiene rubber. So these are all the things can be manufactured in a refinery. So please remember, a refinery, when a crude oil is entering into the refinery, you have the petrol coming out, diesel coming out, kerosene, so a lot of other hydrocarbons. Then finally we'll have a waste crude oil that is called naphtha, that is subjected to chemical cracking, cracking process, thermal cracking process, where it is disintegrated into small gaseous molecules. So these will be converted into plastic material. So plastic materials are coming from the fossil fuel, from the waste fossil fuel. So people say that more plastics are produced, the petrol is going to be shortage in the world. It is a false, it is an illusion. It is not, it is a myth only. Not that plastics you produce more, you get a shortage in diesel or shortage in petrol, not like that. When you produce petrol and gas, diesel, after that only you are taking that waste fraction, you are subjected into chemical cracking, then you are converting them into gases, which are double bonded gaseous materials like ethylene, propylene, butadiene. So these are converted into polymers, right? Plastic granules. By using Ziegler-Natta catalyst, you do a polymerization reaction. Polymers are generally like not a simple molecules. You see the water, if you have water, you have H2O. And if you see NaCl, sodium chloride, simple molecules only, one sodium and one chlorine. When you see the polymers, they are giant molecules or macromolecules. They are chain-like structures. So in a polymerization reaction, this ethylene will be, the double bond will be opened up and it will join together to form a long chain molecule, and a gas is converted into a solid granule. So this is what is the first line indicates. Plastics are usually manufactured and supplied in virgin form as granules, chips, powders. So like PVC will be produced in powder. Again, PVC also is produced from ethylene only. Ethylene is subjected to chlorination process where you produce vinyl chloride monomer that is converted to polyvinyl chloride. So therefore, all the plastic materials you see, a number of plastic materials are there nowadays in the market with their different grade, different melt flow index. So these are all lot of interior. More interior. I don't want to go. I will just talk about the what you needed. Okay. So these granules will be converted into a product, right? So for that you need a processing. So processing includes the thorough mixing and incorporation of additives. So virgin material generally you don't convert it directly into product. Right? So you have to add some additives like masala, so many things you add into food, Similar way, these granules will be mixed with environmental stabilizers like inhibitors, oxidative inhibitor like antioxidant, antiozonants in rubbers particularly, or UV stabilizers. So these kind of small, say for example 100 kg of plastic material, you may be adding 100 grams only. So these kind of additives you will mix them so that the durability of the material is enhanced. And one more beauty of the plastic materials is at one stretch you can add whatever the color you want. You can produce different aesthetic products with different colors. So this is a additives you add, they are known as pigments. So these are also added into the granules and make into the product ready material. That is what is called the compounded material or the pre-processed material. Immediately you can process and get into a product, right? So then after the compounding, that is called the additives mixing, the compounds are then converted into finished components by various processing techniques. So what are the processing techniques? Let us see here. Most of us know that injection molding is one of the important process by which you can convert the plastic materials into your desired shape. How you make it? You will have one barrel is needed, at least to melt the material. The barrel is heated and inside there will be a screw so that whatever the melted material is conveyed to the nozzle end and accumulated there. Then the screw will be acting as a plunger. When it moves forward, this material is pushed into a cavity where the desired product shape is there. So this injection molding machine, who will manufacture? So therefore plastic technology is an allied branch where you need a mechanical engineer to make a machine and mold also. Sometimes the barrel, screw, hopper, the drive system, hydraulic system, closing, clamping of the mold, all these things are mechanical engineering related topics. So therefore a mechanical engineer has to play a great role in the plastic technology, because plastic technologist and a mechanical engineer together are most important to convert the plastic materials. So these machines have been evolved from time to time to a great, inventions are there. But the first small injection molding, how it looks like, I will go through later. So as I already discussed in the introduction, usually the thermoplastics are injection molded, plastic granules are subjected to melting, and the molten plastics are that molten plastic material is injected under pressure into a closed mold cavity. So the mold is completely locked. After solidification, the mold is opened and the product is removed. So this is in a simple layman language, we talk about the injection molding complete process. Then we'll see what exactly we do later. What is extrusion exactly? You need to produce.
पीपीटी नहीं चल रही सर.
सर मैं चलाऊंगा ना एक्सट्रूशन.
अभी चलाए, स्टार्ट नहीं करी आपने पीपीटी सर?
सर एक्सट्रूशन नहीं आ रहा?
नहीं सर, ग्रीन टेक्नोलॉजी प्लास्टिक प्रोसेसिंग केवल ये दिख रहा है केवल हमें तो.
ये हो गया?
ओनली फर्स्ट पीपीटी इज शोन सर.
अच्छा, मे बी ड्यू टू नेट स्लो.
यस सर, एक मिनट चेक करें.
सेकंड पे सेकंड आ गया?
नहीं अभी पहली ही है सर. फर्स्ट, ओनली फर्स्ट पीपीटी है.
यहाँ क्या गिव कंट्रोल क्या है ये?
No, only give green technology in plastic processing is shown.
Okay, shall I again close and start?
Yes sir.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
Because I'm having Wi-Fi, but I'm not able to connect that. Because there are a lot of settings I have to do. Generally, I have. अभी आया?
नहीं सर, अभी नहीं है. Yes sir. Now is processing plastic है ना, plastic processing now is work. Now अब थर्ड, हाँ अभी थर्ड पे क्लिक करो सर, एक थर्ड पीपीटी के ऊपर.
अभी थर्ड आया ना, टाइप्स ऑफ प्लास्टिक प्रोसेसिंग.
नहीं ओनली प्लास्टिक प्रोसेसिंग आया.
तो ये बहुत स्लो चल रहा है सर.
एक मिनट. Yes sir, type of plastic processing. Now third PPT is shown.
Because of the, I have started with the mobile network. I'm having a Wi-Fi here. Airtel Wi-Fi is there, but I'm not able to change the settings here.
Yes sir. Please check sir.
Okay sir. अभी तो दूसरा दिख रहा है ना?
हाँ दूसरा दिख रहा है सर. तीसरा टाइप ऑफ
प्रेजेंटेशन बड़ा करूं, छोटा दिख रहा है ना?
नहीं कोई दिक्कत नहीं सर, प्रेजेंटेशन
छोटा दिख रहा है ना, ओपन करूं?
हाँ छोटा दिख रहा है सर.
अब दिख रहा है फुल स्क्रीन?
नहीं अभी छोटा ही है सर.
ओके, ये नहीं आ रहा. ओके,
हाँ कोई दिक्कत नहीं सर. आप दिस इज
ओके. anyhow I will give you the presentation, please participants. Okay sir, please. So what is extrusion? Extrusion is usually for thermoplastics. So the molten plastics are forced under pressure by a screw through a hole or die. So what I want to say is extrusion is generally done for the hollow component, I mean hollow products. Like you want to produce a pipe or electrical conduit pipe or agriculture pipe or water irrigation pipe, whatever may be. So the hollow continuous, it is a continuous process. So you can produce a hollow product like pipes in extrusion process, or you can produce a profile also, like a sheet kind of profile, like you have nowadays the plastic doors, no? So they are made with extrusion only, right? So it is a the molten plastic is continuously forced through a die or hole. So long continuous lengths can be produced, such as pipes, sheets, rods and tubes can be produced using extrusion process. Is it visible sir now? Hello
sir. Type of plastic injection molding extrusion.
Yes. Second one extrusion I am talking. It is
yes sir, now working sir.
Okay. Then blow molding. So blow molding is generally done for producing the jerry cans or the water tank, overhead water tanks like 250 water tank, 250 liter, 500 liter, 1000 liter, up to 3000 liter also you can produce big tanks using blow molding. Okay, so in this actually whatever the size of the product is there, that much tube is extruded. Now that is closed in a mold, and then using a blowing air, it is expanded to the shape of the product. So that I'll discuss in detail later. Then we have a thermoforming. Abhi dikh raha sir, next thermoforming, rotational molding, compression molding.
No sir. Only this is about. Yes sir, working.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you sir.
Thermoforming is generally done for a thin sheet. Say for example 0.5 mm sheet is taken 1 meter by 1 meter, for example. It is a it's a pre-preg kind of thing. So it is a softened using a hot plate bottom, and then once it is softened, the material will be kept in a mold and sucked through a air or vacuum. So then you get the products like you have a disposable cups or disposable plates. So these kind of things you produce using thermoforming. Heat softened thermoforming sheet is drawn or sucked over a mold. So it can be used for a variety of products from chocolate box trays, disposable cups, plates, and acrylic baths, etc. Big acrylic bath also can be produced using a very big thermoforming machine. So then we have a rotational molding, where we have a blow molding is now I already discussed. So the replica of that one is the rotational molding. Instead of producing the plastic molten tube and blowing into the air is blown and make a product, here what you do is you have a big mold, and in that you add plastic powder form into the mold and then close it, and it is a hot mold. So inside the material is completely melted, and you are rotating the mold in biaxially, so like vertical and horizontal both, so at simultaneously. So then this mold is completely, taken the shape of inside mold, and then once you remove it, you can produce the article. So generally this is used for producing very big water tanks, more than 5,000 liters, 3,000 liters. In blow molding, it is maximum 500 liters is possible, because blow molding process is different. I will go through later. Then we have a compression molding. It is everybody know about this very simple process, usually for thermoplastics. So it is a melted and a hot mold is there in the two plate compression molding machine. Then you add the plastic material, then you close the cavity and you run the again cooling water, you produce the products. So compression molding is simple. Then calendering process also is there for producing plastic products. Like we have a vinyl flooring, you would have seen. Now railways or omnibuses, the flooring is made up of polyvinyl chloride. So these are all produced in calendering process. Then casting is there, like metal processing people may be there, anybody mechanical engineering. So casting process is also there in the plastics processing, that is mainly used for the thermosetting materials. Okay. Then we have a bending process where the thermoplastics can be heated along a line using an electric strip heater and then folded into the desired angles. So this process also is be done, but very rare it is. Okay. So mostly the injection molding process. Now let us go to the injection molding process. This is the, sir आपको दिख रहा है अभी?
Yes sir, दिख रहा है. हाँ, yes sir, injection molding the process. Yes sir.
Okay, now we are in line. Okay, but when I am making a presentation, it is not coming. That is the issue. Okay. Screen बहुत छोटा दिख रहा है ना sir?
नहीं, कोई बात नहीं sir.
Okay. So injection molding is the process in a simple way which we can explain is that injection molding is one of the most important industrial processes in the mass production of plastic goods. The cost of the machine and the original mold can be very high. Sometimes आपका जो chair है, I have one video that I will show you. So producing a chair, so the machine is, say for example, around 50 lakhs. The mold may be more than the machine cost. So because of the mold is more intricate, parts has to be manufactured and assembled, then mold cost will go up. And similarly, the type of material which you are using, which type of hard steel you are using or HS, whatever may be, so that kind of the steel quality also increase the price of the mold. Okay, so sometimes the mold cost will be very high. So therefore, it is necessary to sell large number of the products being manufactured to recover the cost. So generally injection molding, the mass production is done. It is a batch process. It is not a continuous one. After one component, another component is produced. So here you see the plastic powder form or granules is feeded through the hopper into the barrel, where inside the barrel we have a screw and the heaters are banded onto the barrel. So when the barrel is got heated and the screw is rotating, the material is slowly melted and conveyed to the front portion of the injection molding. So thermoplastic granules are heated until they soften. Then the material is forced under pressure into the mold. So when cool, the mold is opened and a component which is the exact shape of the cavity is ejected. So this is the typical materials used. There are n number of materials. For example, only I have given here. So acrylonitrile, butadiene styrene, and polyamide, that is nylon, then polycarbonate, polypropylene, polyethylene, polystyrene. So these are some of the thermoplastic materials I have mentioned here. So generally ABS is used, ABS or PC-ABS blends are used in our mobile phones, TV cabinets, and so many applications we have PC-ABS, right? So then polyethylene, polypropylene are conventional materials. There are conventional thermoplastics you use in domestic applications. So typical products produced using the injection molding, you can see there, even the trays where you have milk crates and all are produced using the injection molding process. Big milk crate also can be produced. Even in the bucket, mug, all these are injection molded materials, right? So then we have the identifying features like sprue makers, draw angle, mold split lines. So these are some of the technical words by how can identify whether the product is injection molded or not. No need to go into that details. Then injection molded items here also I have shown here. Wireless phones, mobile phone casings, then plugs, small you can see, and even the pen can be produced using the injection molding process. The steering of the automobile is produced. They even hold the dashboard of your car can be produced using the injection molding. Here I have seen some grass cutting machine or the vacuum cleaning machines. So these are all the cabins, everything can be produced using injection molding. So therefore injection molding is a very versatile process and very important in producing the plastic components. These are all other the injection molded components you can see. Examples, even a small comb also as shown here. Even the electrical components also produced small using injection molding. See, these are the injection molded items. So you will be surprised to see so many things are produced using injection molding. Very high precision injection moldings are used for producing a very fine and very engineering products like mobile phone casings and all these things, right? So these are also other products you can see. Now you see types of injection molding machines. Are you able to see?
Yes, sir.
Types of injection molding machines. As I told you in very beginning, if you see all the plastic technology is of only around 5 decades. Not much before 1960s. Nobody knows what the plastic materials are. These are all the materials, new materials with the invention of the long chain molecules by Hermann Staudinger. These introduced to our civilization, and now we are almost living in the plastic age, right? So those very initial stage, the plastic injection molding was plunger type, very old type. Okay, then the reciprocating only is mostly used in the nowadays in commercial machines. Reciprocating screw type injection molding machine. So for giving the training for the skilled manpower, you start with even a small hand injection molding machine, semi-automatic and fully automatic machines with fully microprocessor controlled machines are available, right? Now let us see one by one. So this is a very simple hand injection molding. You can see here, this is the small barrel you can see here. This is the real machine and this is the block diagram of that. So a plunger is there. You put some granules in this, it will get melted. Once the melt is ready, you can produce like these kind of machines were used making small caps, that kind of small components for a bottle caps and all. And like even at home itself, you can start the entrepreneurship using small component producing in a hand injection molding. But this is not very now. What do you say? Economic. Now almost hand injection moldings are machines are now for only training purpose now. That's all, right? So the machine consists of a barrel, plunger, and band heater, along with the energy regulator, rack and pinion system for injection. Injecting the material by plunger. A torpedo and a nozzle will be there. Next slide. You see this here now. So there is a vertical injection molding here, left side, and horizontal injection molding machine. Now it's clear, sir, slides?
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. Now I think problem is solved.
Sir, it is very good. Don't ask again.
Thank you, thank you. So plunger type injection molding machine you see here, it is will have a plunger which can move up and down, and where we have a bottom, we have a mold here kept, and this is the barrel where the plastic mold is melt is accumulated, and it will be pushed into the mold. This is another block diagram. You can see reciprocating screw type injection molding machine, where we have a cross section of the machine here. Now we have a barrel. That the pink color is the material which is melted, and it is pushed into the cavity where we have a U type of component here, right? So the molten plastic granules are fed into the hopper, and then it is the melted due to the band heaters of the barrel. I can tell you, when the granules are touching the barrel, and it will be very small clearance will be there. So most of the melting energy is produced by friction. 80% of the energy required for melting the plastic granules is produced through the friction between the barrel and the screw. And then the barrel itself is a hot surface. So the remaining 20% energy is derived from that, and it will be completely made into a homogeneous mold, a homogeneous molten plastic material, which will not have any granules, particles, nothing. It's a completely a liquid kind of highly viscous molten thermoplastic material which is accumulated in the front. So the reciprocating screw type means when the screw is rotating, the melt is moved to the forward, and then when the screw is pushed from the rotation will stop, and the screw can move forward as a plunger. So it will act as a conveyor as well as a plunger both. You can see here more details here. These are the different zones in the plastic injection molding machine. So feed zone, where it starts from the hopper up to where the material is still not completely melted. So then we have a transition zone, metering zone, or compression zone also, you can say transition zone or compression zone. So this is the complete barrel where the screw different actually, as this diagram is shown, it is not that much the clearance between the barrel and the screw will be varying along the screw, you can see. So near the feeding we will have a more gap, and when it is coming to the compression zone, the gap will be reduced and the pressure will increase, friction also will increase, melt will become, material will become completely melted. So when it comes to the metering zone, the melt is pushed, conveyed to the front portion. These are the various components of a injection molding machine, where we have a rotating and reciprocating screw. Then there's a barrel, band heaters, then the hopper, nozzle. You can call these are the some of the components of parts of the injection molding machine. So injection chamber, where the melt is accumulated, and the immediately the product you can see, that is called sprue. So it is actually waste. You have to remove it, and then you can again melt, recycle it again, use it for that. This is the stationary plate which is attached to the nozzle, and the movable plate will be attached to the toggle system, where we will be opening and closing of the mold takes place. The injection process, the material by reciprocating, the plasticizes the material by reciprocating screw. That means plasticizes means makes the melt. The granules will be completely fused and melted. Injects the molten material into a closed mold via a channel system of gates and runners. You have a multi-component, multi-cavity systems. So at one stretch you can produce 10-15 components, and sometimes you even have a small component, means even 100 components also you can produce. So in that case, the melt will be running in the mold, that is called the runners, and the gate point is the one where the material enters into the cavity. So then the mold is cools, and the mold, then after solidification you can remove the product. So this is called complete one cycle. Then again the mold is closed for next cycle. So these are the various processes you can see. In the first phase, the mold is closed and melt is ready for injection. Then the cavity fills the reciprocating screw, moves forward as a plunger. So that time the melt will be entering into the right. This is the second step. This is the third step now, where the cavity is packed as the screw continuously moves forward. Then the cavity cools as the gate freezes. This is the point where gate is actually where the melt is entering into the cavity. So that once the gate freezes, the screw goes back. Okay. Then the component is solidified and removed from the mold, is opened and removed, and then the mold is prepared for next cycle. So here the screw is removed. That whatever the bottom line is there, no, you need only this boat kind of shape, and bottom you have to remove it. That is called the screw, which can be regrained and used later. Again, here it is, illustrated in different diagrams. Here, three plate mold, two plate mold. These kind of terminologies are used in the injection molding. Mold. Injection molding machines differ in both injection unit and clamping systems, as I told you. So there is a lot of developments in this, and more advanced machines have come. So sometimes like hydraulic systems are used for clamping the mold, where the oil leakage and oil consumption will be there. Again oil filling, these kind of problems will be there. So nowadays you have a all electric injection molding machine, where the complete clamping system is run by only electric motor system, right? I'll just go through fast. I have shown here mechanical, toggle system, then hydraulic, and all electric machines are there. Several clamping designs. So advantages of injection molding process, these are all I'll give you later. Parts can be produced at high production rates. Large volume production is possible. Relatively low labor cost per unit is obtainable. Process is highly susceptible to automation. Parts require little or no finishing, right? At a stage, you can produce the finished product. Many colors and finishes are available, which can be added into the granules. Complex shapes can be molded, and for many shapes, this process is the most economical way to fabricate. So process permits the manufacture of very small parts, which are almost impossible to fabricate in quantities by other methods. These are all some of the other additional advantages, like wastage will be less, close dimensional tolerances can be achieved. Limitations, let us see what are the limitations. Intense industry competition often results in low profit margins. Like you are becoming an entrepreneur, you hire any machine, anybody is having an injection molding machine, you give the mold and try to produce. They are producing it at very small margins, like 8 hours you run the machine, our rate you could see. So probably even a 250 ton capacity machine, so it cannot be more than like 2500 rupees 8 hours you can use the machines. Mold costs are high. This is the, sometimes I told you, making a mold is the mechanical engineering job, and which the more complicated shapes are there, you have to use advanced machining processes in the mold manufacturing. Conventional methods you cannot use. Something like you go for wire cut EDM or CNC milling. So this kind of so many processes you subject to produce the mold parts, and then finally you do the assembly of the mold. So in such case, the mold cost will go high. Molding machinery and auxiliary equipment costs are high. Lack of knowledge about the fundamentals of the process causes problems. So lack of knowledge about the long-term properties of the material may result in long-term failures. Here I have one injection molding of PP glass fiber chair. Please see this. This is a very innovative chair which has been designed in 1960s by Werner Panton. So this name of the chair itself is a Panton chair. Are you able to see the video?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. This is a PP glass fiber reinforced polypropylene material. And this advantage of this design was you can stack one above other, and it is a very sturdy one-piece chair it is. And you can see the mold cost of this will be much higher than your machine even. You see the mold is around, it is how many tons it is? The mold weighs around 10 tons. and is in two parts. And you see the surface and all highly polished and chrome plated. These are the PP granules, which are glass filled. See, polypropylene is generally produced in the refineries. When the polypropylene is again, why we are putting glass fiber? To increase the strength. These are some of the automations you can see. Here even the robo system is used to remove the product from the mold. So this is the, from hopper, the granules are entering into the barrel, and where the screw is now operated, you see. When the screw moves forward, the melt is injected like that, you see. This is a plunger now. The screw is reciprocating as well as plunger, both. The melt has taken the shape of the component, that is the sprue. So it is a hot runner mold is another concept. You see that complete sprue can be again in the melting stage itself. Only a small portion has to be cut. You can see that. See, very, very small. That after this is a hot runner mold system. So these are some of the advantages, as I told you, in every process, whether injection molding, extrusion, the developments have taken place time to time, and a lot of advanced machines have been produced. Thank you. You have any doubts, you can ask. I'll move on to extrusion process. Mainly, I will explain only three processes in majority: injection molding, extrusion, and blow molding. You have any questions, please, in injection molding?
Yes, sir. Sir, presentation is very good, sir. Sir, what is that metering zone? It comes after transition zone. Why it is called metering zone?
Metering zone means the melt is metered into the front portion in a measured manner. That means this component require this much melt, that much melt only is accumulated there.
Okay, means quantitative. Thank you, sir.
Yes, yes. So you make note of questions, please. Last question answering system, even if time shoots us, I will be available, no problem. After 12 also I can answer the questions.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. Now these are all the, injection molding. I told you there are so many, starting from a plunger type and small semi-automatic hand injection molding. So now you have a completely, microprocessor controlled and high production, high machine or production rate machines are produced, which are even now the tension free. You don't have any oil leakage, nothing. Complete all electric clamping systems have come, and now multi injection injection molding machines are also there. You can see the buckets and all having two colors, no? So that kind of multi injection molding machines have come, right? Now let us go to the extrusion process. Extrusion process is mainly used for making the hollow products, as well as, the cable wires. So in the electricity, you have an insulation, no? So that is also done in extrusion process, right? So people talk a lot about plastics. Somebody invented electricity, which is no more less than Superman. Nobody can contain it, no? Even a small portion is insulator is removed, we cannot dare to touch the electricity. So electricity is so useful for everybody, but it is so dangerous. So that can be contained using only a plastic material, right? So therefore plastics are highly insulating materials, and they can be coated over any conductor, so to manufacture the cables, etc. You can see cables, if you take one topic itself, how the cables are manufactured, what insulation materials are used. You have a very high voltage cables are there. Even the cables which can be laid underneath, in the sea also available, which can withstand the sea water and all. That kind of plastic materials are also available. So therefore extrusion process is the very broad process which produces a lot of products, like cable insulation is produced, and bore well pipes are produced, irrigation pipes are produced, I mean, drinking water, big size pipes, even more than 300 mm diameter also you can produce. Even 600 mm dia pipes also will. Some of the machines are so big, you can produce 1000 mm dia pipes. So big pipes also you can produce. Like pipes for even drainage pipes also nowadays used in plastic. So such kind of all, big products and continuous production can be done in extrusion process. Now let us go to the in details about extrusion process. Here it is not like previously what you see in injection molding. Here the melt is continuously pushed through the die, and whatever the shape you have, like a tube form, it may come like a for pipe, or you can produce rods also, you can produce sheets also, or if you are producing the insulation, so the conductor will be pushed into the die, and where the already molten material will be coming one side and the conductor will be going other side. When it is coming out, it comes out as a coated wire. Extrusion process is a continuous process, as I mentioned, used to produce profiles. How the extrusion process, here also you have a barrel and screw, and the melt is continuously pushed through the die. Instead of mold, here you have a die, right? Then the extrudate is then cooled and forms a solid shape. These are the different shapes you can produce in extrusion. Like T section, it is a continuously you can produce. U section, or a square section, or a circular like pipe. So circular is a pipe. So or L section you can produce, I section you can produce. All these things you can produce in the extrusion process. This is the continuous extrusion line, where we have a machine here, hopper, where the granules are fed into the barrel, and the screw will be designed in such a way that initially the clearance will be less. Then as it moves, we have a different zones in the screw. Pressure buildup also similarly it will be varying. The front, when the melt comes, that will be pushed through the die, and whatever the product is coming out, you pull through the pull track, so that they continuously the material is and the product is produced. The material is melted in the extruder, and the molten plastic is pushed from the extruder through a die. The whole shape it takes on, whatever whether circular, whatever may be. The molten plastic emerging from the die is called extrudate, and it must be cooled, and it is usually pulled through a water bath, and then pull track will be there. The extrudate is subjected to sizing process. When you want to maintain the dimensions, it will be subjected to, once the melt is emerging from the die, it is subjected to sizing process. Any profile you have to do the sizing, then only you will have a uniform size. Sizing is done to control the shape of the molten polymer as it enters the cool bath. If there were no sizing die, the molten polymer will shrink and uncontrollably before it solidifies. So therefore it will collapse if you don't have a sizing. So equally sizing is important, like inside whatever the happening, the material is molten and pushed through the die. So when it is coming out of the die, so the sizing is a very important process that controls the shape of the and wall thickness of the product, shape of the product, the dimension, stability, everything is controlled using the sizing process. I will show you what are the sizing processes now. I have a video I will show in extrusion also. Sizing is of two types, namely it is a pressure sizing or vacuum sizing. Whether you can suck the air so that it will stick onto the die, inside the sizing die, and it will maintain the shape. Or you can have a pressure, inside pressure also you can use. Pressure sizing uses an internal floating plug whose diameter is equal to the inner diameter of the pipe. An internal pressure is applied to maintain the dimensions of the pipe. I will just show the process, then you can understand more. See, when you have a the pipe's dimension has to be maintained. Inside you can introduce some pressure, air. So by that way also you can control the shape. Or you can send this extrudate into the vacuum system, so that also you can control the size. So this one is the first one, is the plug system, where we have a internal plug and pressure is maintained. So once the melt is coming out, here like a diaphragm, like your air pump is there, no, similar way. So up to here it is be maintained the pressure, so that the diameter also will be running through a sizing die. So the diameter will controlled, and inside the pressure is there, that will maintain the shape without collapsing the extruded. So here you see it is a second one, you see vacuum sizing, where a lot of air holes will be there. So when you suck, the product will be sticking onto the wall lines, I mean the sizing die, and it will go and push forward to get the continuous product. So sizing of is a two types. It is very important to maintain the shape and dimensions, right? That much you can remember. That is enough to maintain the shape and dimensions of the product. Then it will finally go to the puller. A puller is used to pull the plastic extruded through the cooling tank after it leaves the die through the sizing unit. It usually pulls faster than the velocity of the plastic melt emerging from the die. So this causes orientation of the polymer chains and controls the wall thickness of the profiles. So the profiles passing through the puller are taken to track and cut into required size and are stacked. These are various profiles which you can make through. Nowadays, plastic windows are all this, they are all produced using extrusion only. Plastic windows, doors, pipes, all these things you can see here. Here the process is there. You can see the extrusion process, please, video. This is a PVC pipe extrusion line. This is the die. So the molten material is coming out. It is collapsing, you see. If you don't do the sizing, it cannot maintain the shape. So initially when you make product, some wastage will go. Now this is the sizing unit. It is cooled. That is the pull track. If it is ISA brand, whatever the brand, they will print there. Simultaneously printing also is done. Automated, everything. Now this is a cutting. Maybe generally 6 meter length they'll keep. This is the coupling is made now again. This is the coupling. To join one pipe to other one, no, you need a coupling. Thank you. Right? So extrusion process looks very simple, and rather, in fact, it is a very simple process compared to the injection molding and all. They're not it's a continuous production. Once the product is set, no need to worry about it. Initially, only some wastage will come. So once the product is setting, it can run 24 hours. The machine can run non-stop several even days. So that kind of advanced machines are there nowadays. Maybe once the product dimension change, that time only you can stop the machine. Now I'll go through fast, please. Then I have to discuss about biodegradable materials also. Then this is the blow molding process. So what exactly blow molding process is, as I mentioned you can produce the, hollow, not like a pipe and all I'm talking here, containers, hollow containers like jerry can or oil cans. So such kind of things you can produce in the blow molding process. So here you see the blow molding again is two types. It is injection blow molding as well as extrusion blow molding. So that means that in the blow molding process, both injection molding process and extrusion both are integrated here. The blow molding process is a combination of injection molding and extrusion. As I mentioned first the granules are melted and melt is made into a tubular form. So that melt is now in a form tube, it is formed, then it is blown and you can produce the bottles. Like whatever you have, the shampoo bottles and all, at the smallest I am talking. So you can go into very big jerry cans, also oil cans. Even the oil drums are there now, 250 liter and 500 liter. So all those things can be produced using blow molding process. The plastic material is fed in granular form into a hopper. A large screw is turned by a motor which feeds the granules through a heated barrel section. And in this heated section, the granules are melt and becomes a homogeneous melt. And the melt is extruded as a tube. It is called parison. So now what is parison? I told you, now this tube is called parison. So once you put the air pin there again, then it will be blown into the mold and it occupies the shape of the bottle. Now you see this way. Because once mold is closed, bottom and top are locked. Right? So in this heated section, the granules are homogeneous melt and then it becomes into a tubular form called parison. Air is blown into the tube, locked in a closed mold, and the air forces the plastic to the sides, giving the shape of the bottle. So the mold is then cooled and then the bottle is removed. This is a simple representation here where the tube is extruded, which is called the parison. A hollow length of plastic called parison is extruded and down between the two halves of the mold. The mold is closed in the second step. And in the third step, compressed air is blown into the parison and then it takes the shape of the mold bottle, and then once it is cooled, bottle is removed. Right? So the bottle blowing air can be on the top or bottom, any way you can have it. Mostly where the open part is there, so that the mouth of that that's where you have a blown system. This is the difference between the injection blow molding and the extrusion blow molding. Right? So bottles over half pound, tooling costs are 50% to 75% less, generates 20 to 30% scrap, additional machinery needed to grind scrap. So total cycle time is shorter, wider choices of resins, greater flexibility in pot design. So these are all the extrusion blow molding advantages. Whereas in injection blow molding, we have a long runs and smaller bottles, no trim scrap. I'll just tell you one simple thing here. Now you know our beverages bottles as well as packaged drinking water bottles. They initially produced in injection molding in a small bottle shape, very small. So your even 2 liter can, 2 liter bottle will be of very small, like 100 ml bottle or more, slightly more than that. So these are small bottles are produced in injection molding with more thickness of the wall. Then this is called preforms. So all preforms are produced in injection molding. So these preformed bottles are heated. Once it is softened, again you put into the mold and then blow it, it will become a bottle. That means it is a intermittent, there is a break between the production. First you are producing a a small bottle with more wall thickness, that is called preform. That is heated again, softened into the expandable melt stage. It is not completely melted, it is softened. Then you blow the air into the mold, keeping into the small mold. Then it occupies the shape of the mold. It is called the stretch blow molding. Stretch blow molding. So in that, one pin will be stretching the bottle to the bottom, and then it will be expanding also. Then vacuum foaming will go. Vacuum foaming, as I mentioned you, it is produced for this, the sheet which is now heated. Then the bottom mold is there. So once you suck the air, it will occupy the, acquire the shape of the blue one is the sheet which is heated. Now once it is softened, mold is taken up. The mold have a fine pores in the bottom. So once you apply the vacuum, it will occupy the shape of the, acquire the shape of the mold. So this is a vacuum forming process where you produce the disposable plates, or sometimes even bigger shapes also can be produced in this. In these different steps in the vacuum process, different components: clamping system, heating, pre-stretch, vacuum, plug assist, cooling and release, finishing. All these things are the operating steps in the vacuum forming. So you can see some of the components which is produced in the vacuum forming. Then rotational molding, as I told you, you produce the big water tanks, where here you keep the powdered thermoplastic material into the mold, and then over it is now. So this is, you can see. So then it will be rotate. The mold is, hot mold is rotated in biaxially, horizontal as vertical. So once the melt is plastic material is melted, it will flow in the mold because of the rotations, action of the horizontal as well as vertical rotations. It will acquire the shape, and then once you cool it, you can open the mold and take it out, the product. So you can use, even nowadays, the septic tank, underground septic tanks are produced using this technique. Very big septic tanks are produced, even water tanks, all these things are produced using rotational molding. Like, the brand, Syntex. Syntex is the one of the largest rotational molding component producer. Right, this presentation is now, I will stop here because I will not go into more details about this now. These are all the, processes what we have seen for the, what do you call? Excuse me. Hello. Hello, participants.
Yes, sir.
Now the first presentation is over. You have any question answers? You can. Shall I do it now or after the second presentation? You have any question answers? You can please.
Question answer session after second presentation.
Thank you. Thanks. Then I'll move on to second one. Now you must have heard about biodegradable or biomaterials. One minute, I am having important call. I'll just. Hello? 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 Hello?
Hello.
हेलो, हाँ सर, यस सर,
अभी अभी आ रहा है सर आवाज?
हाँ आवाज आ रहा है ना सर? सर प्लीज शेयर और पीपीटी.
Hello.
Second PPT I am sharing. It is visible?
यस सर, नो विजिबल सर अभी. पीपीटी,
अभी?
हाँ यस सर, विजिबल. Definitions now visible.
Yeah, definitions of biomaterials. Yeah.
Yes sir,
So
yes.
I'll move on to now the need of the hour. So people talk about the biodegradable plastics are needed, or once the fossil fuel is completely extinguished, then how the plastics are produced. So these kind of questions are there. So in the mind. So for that, I will just explain you. Plastics can be produced not only from petroleum, even from the agricultural products also you can produce the polyethylene and the polypropylene, all these materials. How it is going to be, I'll just discuss here. Biopolymers or biosourced polymers means that they have been made from a biological or living source. They are all renewable resources such as agricultural based feedstocks. So from agricultural based feedstocks also we can produce the plastic materials. So these are some of the green concepts you can say which are related with the plastic materials. We can have the biodegradable materials. Biopolymers are different, biodegradable polymers are different. So biodegradable polymers means they may be broken down by the living organisms like bacteria that exist in nature. So like any living creature is dead, so that can be eaten away by the microorganisms similar way. Or you have a waste food, so you dispose into the environment, particularly where soil is there. Okay, so it will be degraded by the microorganisms. The same thing if you are keeping it on a cement road or a stone or a slab, it cannot degrade, right? It will fall and it will give you smell. Similarly, plastic materials also which are biodegradable, they have to be disposed into soil, and you have to make a very bacteria rich soil, that is called compost, so where the plastic material can degrade. So how the biodegradable materials are made, that I'll discuss. Biodegradable is different, bio are different. Being bio based does not mean that they are biodegradable. Please listen the third statement. Any material which is a biopolymer or bio based does not mean that it will biodegrade. Similarly, being biodegradable does not mean that they are biosourced. Biodegradable can be made even from petroleum products also. Petroleum products also you can make the biodegradable polymer. So the third statement has to be very clear. Any material which is produced from biosources does not mean that it will biodegrade. Similarly, biodegradable materials does not mean that they are produced only biosource. They can produce from alternate sources also. First and foremost, biodegradable, biopolymer that does not biodegrade, right? Natural rubber. Natural rubber comes from a tree. People who are in India, mostly from Kerala, they may be knowing that what is a rubber and how the rubber is cultivated and how this the rubber is finished into the product. So all these technology people must be knowing. Generally, natural rubber is produced from tree. You know that, no? It is called rubber plants. It is not a small plant. Generally, it has to be at least 8 to 10 years big tree. Then only you can tap it. That means tapping means you make a V notch on the bark of the tree. So then the latex comes out. That is a rubber comes out as a milk. It will be exactly like a milk form. That is called latex. So this rubber is, that latex is collected from the tree and it is coagulated, separated from the remaining water content in that, and then rubber is extracted. That is processed into sheet or crumb. Drum means large bulk rubber. Okay, bulk rubber. Or sheets also you can produce in this sheet form. So this rubber extracted from tree. So I want to talk to you about rubber technology. I'll just discuss here. May not be having more slides, but I'll discuss here now. So this rubber cannot be made into a tube or tire. It is a raw rubber. It is a raw rubber which you produce from the plant. You know, the who has I mean the rubber. When you see the basic difference, the polyethylene and the rubber. Polyethylene may be having a molecular weight. That means the molecule joined in a polymer may be around 2 lakh. Molecular weight may be around 2 lakhs. Whereas rubbers will be having a molecular weight greater than 5 lakhs. That means very high molecular weight materials are rubbers generally. Synthetic rubbers are also produced nowadays in large quantities. Like from butadiene, you can produce butadiene rubber, or you can combine with the two monomers like acrylonitrile and butadiene monomer. You produce together, you get a acrylonitrile butadiene rubber, which is also known as nitrile rubber. Similarly, you can produce styrene and butadiene together, you polymerize, you get styrene butadiene rubber. Similarly, you can produce the butyl rubber, butadiene and isoprene, you produce synthesize together, you produce butyl rubber, which is good for making inner tubes of the automobile. You may have produced a very, I mean, even an aircraft cannot land without a rubber. You can imagine the great role of rubber. Okay, the rubber is so hard tires. You can see an aircraft touching the runway, you can see abrasion very small. It cannot be full. I mean, it's so hard. I mean, tough material. It can withstand such kind of very vigorous environment also, or vigorous conditions or applications. So rubbers are very important materials. They have their own way of processing. Rubber cannot be processed just like that, whatever I told you in the thermoplastic processing, where the granules are melted and processed into any shape. But rubber is not like that. You make any shape, it will go back into the whatever it was in the original sheet form. This is the nature of rubber, because they are highly elastic, stretchable materials. Rubbers are highly elastic and stretchable materials. That's why the elasticity of rubbers is different from elasticity of metals, where in metals you talk about only less than 1% of strain. Rubbers can undergo 600 to 700% times, 7 times you can stretch, even more than that. Again, you leave the stress, immediately it will come back to its original shape. Then how to make the product from rubber? Rubber is a highly elastic material. So the question here is, now the Thomas Hancock, he is the one who has made the mastication machine. And once you make the rubber into small pieces, that means you crush it and it will become like a clay now, like a china clay. No, you use the china clay, small, I mean, toys and all, you can make any shape and you can play with the clay. No, so like that, the rubber has become very soft. That means very huge molecular weight material is broken down into very small molecules and it becomes very soft. Now that nerve has gone, the elasticity is gone. Now you made the shape, but once you make the shape, you cannot use that product at all, because it has lost all its mechanical strength. So therefore, first thing is, a very strong rubber material is broken down, I mean, like into small pieces you are made into. We keep on stressing, I mean, hammering, or you in 2 rolls you press it several times, pass the material, it will become now very like soft clay material kind of thing. So that is called compound, rubber compound. So how to get back the original properties? Now, well and good, you have made a shape from the rubber now, but the strength you need again. So in this, the material, the man who has invented a chemical is called sulfur. So the Goodyear has, okay, Charles Goodyear has invented this sulfur. So when you add this sulfur into that rubber soft compound and you heat it around 160 degrees centigrade, these rubber molecules again cross-link each other and produce a much stronger rubber than earlier, and it is in the shape. That means tire shape. Understand? So like this, the rubber processing is different entirely from the thermoplastics. Though these are also polymer materials, they are also polymer materials, but their processing is entirely different because of the nature. They are very elastic. We have to first reduce the, it is called mastication process. You mast it like a keema you do for meat, similar way. So it will become very small pieces and soft, and you can make any shape. So during that making this mastication process, generally you do it in a Banbury mixture, which is having a very high shearing blades inside, or you can use open two roll mill, okay, for mastication. After mastication, the rubber, during mastication, sorry, not after mastication, you add this rubber, sulfur, so it will cross-link and it will become a strong material. Now I talk about the inventions in rubber technology. You see, the sulfur used to cure the rubber for maybe more than 24 hours when Charles Goodyear invented initially. So that is not a practically, economical. When you produce a product for one tire for 24 hours means your tire cost will be much higher than your car. 4 tires will be. So later people have invented accelerators. Accelerator is what? It will fast speed up the cross-linking process with sulfur. So those are called accelerators. So then you put accelerators, the activators, they invented first activators. So zinc oxide is the activator. So you add zinc oxide, the straight away the rubber curing time, that is cross-linking time, has come to 2 hours. Even 2 hours in one tire manufacturing is also not affordable. That means vulcanizing a tire in 2 hours it is taking, it is not a viable manufacturing process. So then they invented the accelerators, like some amine substances. So like MBTS, TMTD, these are some of the names of the accelerators. Okay, thiurams, mercaptides, xanthates, these are different types of chemicals which can accelerate the curing process. So you imagine when the people invented accelerators in the rubber industry, the whole tire can cure in 8 minutes, less than that, even a big tire. So this is the invention in the rubber industry or rubber technology, where the accelerators are the, fantastic innovator. Revolutionized substances, we can say. Similarly, one more thing I can tell you, rubber is not that much strong. When you rub against any rough surface in nature. So then they invented something to be added in the rubber, you can make very strong. So that time they invented carbon black. You see, carbon, if you enter into MRF industry, you come out with a lot of black, your clothes, everything, because the rubber carbon black is the key material in the rubber, which can improve the strength of abrasion resistance of the tire. So without carbon black, the rubber industry cannot sustain. So therefore, you can say these 3 materials, sulfur, accelerators, and carbon black, are the innovatory chemicals on which the rubber industry is planted, right? So therefore, these are very revolutionizing substances. Because of this, rubber industry has so much of booming. You can see that now rubber industry or footwear, it will be eroding. It will be completely abraded. Again, we have to use different one. So therefore, these industries are called evergreen industries. They never extinguish. Okay, Kodak camera has come long back, film, and nowadays the innovations have come. The film is vanished, and the Kodak company, people who are employed there are completely signed off from the industry. So this is the kind of a big company extinguished totally. For that matter, what I say is now the rubber industry is a evergreen industry, you can say, because the rubber has to be consumed, tires, of course, the upgradation of the technology, product improvement, all these things takes place. But the basic technology is the same in rubber industry, right? Now the natural rubber, what is the composition chemically? It is 100% cis-1,4 polyisoprene. It is coming from a tree. It is a biosubstance. It is a biopolymer, right? Natural rubber is a biopolymer, but it is not biodegradable. You put rubber in the soil, it will not degrade. Like plastic, it will also remain. It will never degrade, right? So therefore, it is a biopolymer, cannot be a biodegradable, not necessarily. So this is the chemical unit structure of the isoprene, that is a natural rubber. Then coming to the other bioplastics, apart from these rubbers, some of the bioplastics are produced from starch, like vegetable oils, corn starch, potato starch. Okay, so instead of fossil fuels, you can use this agricultural feedstocks for producing the plastics. So bioplastics are not new. In the year 1850s, a British chemist created plastic from cellulose, a derivative of wood pulp. So later in the early 20th century, Henry Ford experimented with soya-based plastics in his automobiles. After that, bioplastics began being sparking interest during the oil crisis in the 70s. The 1980s brought items such as biodegradable films, sheets, and mold forming materials. The need of replacement for the petroleum based plastics with bioplastics is because so producing conventional plastics consumes 65% more energy than producing bioplastics. So it is a green concept, right? So producing bioplastics is less energy consumption. Ever increasing crude oil prices. Now you can see, now there's no need to explain and what is the scenario currently, right? So similarly, plastic materials also increased. Many people, maybe we are common public, we know the difficulty in buying the fuel, petrol or diesel with a very high price, which is crossed, shooted up more than 100 rupees. So similarly, a polyethylene which was or PVC which was sold around 80 to 90 rupees has gone up to 130, 125, 130 rupees. The same impact the plastic industry is suffering now because of the high raw material costs, right? So these kind of things may be becoming worsened in the future. That means it may become worse now. Whatever is now bad may become worse also in future. So when this um, crude oil is completely vanished or it can become expensive, so that time what is alternate source? So in the polymer technology, the plastic technology, people have invented the other materials. That means you can also produce plastics from agricultural feedstocks. Bioplastics saves 30 to 80% of the greenhouse gas emissions. So one can imagine the future of these materials in the coming years. So bioplastics can also be biodegradable and therefore replacement for petroleum based plastics in packaging. Like PLA based, polylactic acid based plastics are biodegradable. The fonts are very thin, I think. Bioplastics are following several other important advantages over conventional plastics in bulk packaging, which are as follows. Compost derived in part from the bioplastics increases the soil organic content as well as water and nutrient retention, with reducing chemical inputs and suppressing plant diseases. Starch-based bioplastics have been shown to degrade 10 to 20 times quicker than the conventional plastics. On burning, traditional plastics create toxic fumes which can be harmful to the people's health and environment. If any biodegradable films are burned, there is little, if any, toxic chemicals or fumes released into the air. Of course, these are all not, you can say, advantages. Why we are going to burn it? Safe biodegradability, safe for medical uses. Compared to conventional plastics derived from petroleum-based polymers, have more diverse stereochemistry and architecture of the side chains, which enables research scientists a great number of opportunities to customize the properties of the final materials. The global production of bioplastics will be, this is the old slide I am showing, please. Okay. This logo also, CPET logo, earlier it was like this, like injection molding. Now we have changed to poppy. Okay, this was actually CPET is a 50-year-old institute. We have crossed Golden Jubilee 2019. Okay, so almost when the plastics are just started used in India, that time itself an institute with the focused objectives has been established in 1968 in the Chennai first unit. Now we have around 40 CPET centers all over India. Okay, now the global production of bioplastics will be more than double from 7 lakhs 7 lakh tons in 2010 to 1.7 million tons in 2015, according to the latest report from the European Bioplastics Industry Association and the University of Applied Sciences and Arts of Hanover. Bioplastics can be made from many different sources and materials. Plant oils, like you have a, when you talk about sunflower oil or this kind of oils, if you are producing the plastics, then food shortage may come. Even you are using starch, corn starch or any potato starch, this kind of things can cause sugar cane. All these things are food shortage may create when you start producing the tons of plastic materials. So in such case, you can use the crops which are non-edible oils like castor oil. Castor oil can be used to produce the bioplastics, right? Similarly, starch, which is now there are so many non-edible like tobacco kind of or potato kind of agriculture products are available. So from that starch can be used for producing plastics. Of course, in Brazil, Braskem is the company which has produced several tons of biopolyethylene, and then it is now in crisis that they use mainly sugarcane. So in that case, now it is creating food shortage. That's why it is halted now to produce the plastics from that. Bioplastics are already commercialized and they are produced in industry scale, right? I'll go through in front. These are the some of the feedstocks of bioplastics. Like you can use oils, corn starch you can use. Okay, then starch you can use, potato starch you can use. You can tell me, how the plastic is produced from a starch or a potato, right? So they are containing the carbohydrate. Carbohydrate generally, fructose, sucrose, they are small carbohydrates. The polysaccharides are there, no, which are starch, cellulose. So these kind of materials, they are bigger sugars. So these carbohydrates can be subjected to fermentation. Have you heard about the making a dosa batter or idli? So that batter will be early morning. It will be like froth forming, and you see a lot of gas formed there. So that is nothing but ethyl alcohol, or this kind of alcohol is formed in the fermentation process. So when ethyl alcohol, you see CH3 CH2OH, that is a chemical structure. You subject it to dehydration, remove the water molecule, it will form ethylene. So this ethylene is similar to whatever I explained initially from petroleum. We get a naphtha, which is a waste after producing the petrol diesel. Then that is cracked and subjected to chemical cracking process and producing ethylene molecule, then polyethylene. So here now we are going through starch. This starch is subjected to rotten, that means fermentation. Then you produce ethyl alcohol from that. So this ethyl alcohol is subjected to dehydration process and produces ethylene gas. So this ethylene gas is similar to the petrochemical based. So this ethylene gas can be polymerized using Ziegler-Natta catalyst to convert into high density polyethylene. So the polyethylene produced in the biological method using starch and from petrochemical, that is petroleum, naphtha, both are similar. You see their mechanical strength around 30 megapascal. Tensile strength, they will have the same toughness, same everything. It cannot biodegrade. This also cannot biodegrade. So therefore, the plastics produced from biosources are called bioplastics. So they're not necessary that they will biodegrade. Then PLA is one of the most attractive biodegradable plastic. Polylactic acid made from renewable resources, corn, sugar cane, etc., can be composted under industrial composting conditions. Okay, it's a transparent and clear will be there. UV stability, printability, limited heat sensitivity. Around 105 degrees centigrade only its heat capacity, strength. Then PHAs are there, polyhydroxy alkanoids, made from corn feedstocks, also biodegradable under. Then PDO, propane diol monomer, is used in manufacturing polytrimethylene terephthalate. That is a PET bottle and all, no, you can produce using bioplastic, biopet. I think it's not very visible. Comparison of properties and everything with the conventional and bioplastic. Okay, I'll give the slides to send them through mail. You can take it. Comparison and performance of bio-based properties of the plastics and the bioplastics. Okay, this is how you make the plastics from renewable resources like cane sugar or other carbohydrates. So carbohydrate is subjected to fermentation process. Ethanol or ethyl alcohol is produced. So then this will be subjected to dehydration. You produce ethylene gas, and that ethylene gas you polymerize like petroleum ethylene gas, same. So you produce polyethylene. Not biodegradable, same properties as the petrochemical based polyethylene. Processing characteristics are also same. Performance also as petroleum based. Biopolypropylene, biopolyethylene terephthalate, PET, biopolyvinyl chloride, biopolystyrene, biopolyurethane. Anything you produce in the petrochemical, similar products can be produced here also. This is what I was mentioning. Brazilian Petrochemicals and Polymers Group, Braskem, commits to producing bio-based polypropylene. Braskem started to supply its first bio-based polyethylene products earlier this year. That means I am talking about 2010. The resins are produced using ethylene manufactured from sugarcane ethanol at its new facility at this is a town there in the Brazil, Triunfo, in the Rio Grande region of Brazil. So the company has earmarked $100 million for the project, which is expected to deliver first commercial resins to the market in 2030. It has produced also the plastic, was as they promised. They produced huge quantities of bio-based polyethylenes, polypropylene and all, but currently it is halted. I think you can see, you can browse, you can see what is the Braskem is now doing, right? To produce about 30,000 metric tons of bio PP and copolymer per year. They already produced. Biopolymers from renewable resources are going to play a major role in future plastic industry. Being an agricultural based country, India has plenty of resources to produce bio-based plastic materials. Use of biodegradable polymers, particularly for the packaging applications, is the only alternate to petrochemical based plastics to save the environment. Okay, of course I'll come to that. Is a different topic, why biodegradable polymers are needed. Thank you. You have any questions, please ask. Since it is a new area, and if I am bored, some people I'm extremely I'm helpless. If you have any questions, you can ask me, I will tell you. Any chemical based participants are there? Chemical engineering, they would have. Hello. 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 Hello.
Hello. Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
साउंड नहीं आ रहा था इसलिए
नहीं आ रहा है सर, साउंड आ रहा है
जी. Now participants may are muted, I think.
यस सर, पार्टिसिपेंट
And now you can open, sir, because question answering I am just asking
okay.
them to clear.
हाँ. Okay. Any questions related to this presentation and session? Any candidates? Any questions या queries या any कोई doubt? No question, sir. Yes, sir.
Now somebody want to ask. That's why I'm just waiting.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hello, sir. Good morning, sir.
Hello, dear participants, you can ask any questions, please.
Yes, sir. Sir, while synthesizing bioplastic-based starch, in making this bioplastic, there is some compatibility factor. How to overcome this compatibility factor means while synthesizing bioplastic, when we add
Are you doing any research in this area?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Therefore, I'm asking you, sir.
Okay.
Sir,
May I know? Can you just introduce yourself, please, before asking question?
Yes, sir. My name is Kiran Tatar. I'm working in engineering college in Mumbai University. I'm masters in polymer chemistry.
University. Okay, good.
I'm masters in polymer
Okay,
chemistry.
great. Please.
Therefore, I'm facing the challenge of.
Okay.
Sir, how to overcome? But just I want to. If you guide me, that's fine, sir.
Okay. Thank you. You can make note of my number. It is available. I am from CPET Jaipur. Okay. Yes, CPET Institute of Petrochemical Technology. Now the Plastic Technology Institute has become petrochemical technology now, right?
Yes, sir.
Our institute Gazette came from ministry. Now institute name is changed. It is same CPET only. Abbreviation is CPET only. Earlier it was Central Institute of Plastic Engineering and Technology. Now it is a Central Institute of Petrochemicals Engineering and Technology, right? Okay, all right. So I am very happy to know that you are masters in polymer science. You must have followed my lecture. Of course, whatever the best way I can judge in 2 hours. I have discussed about the various developed processes for the benefit of the plastic industry and rubber industry, right? You can see now the bioplastics are produced by Braskem in tons material. In fact, I have received also in CPET some biopolyethylene. It is similar to petrochemical polyethylene. There is no much property difference. There is no question of any compatibility and all. You can use the plastic, any components, whatever you use, conventional polyethylene, biopolyethylene, both are having same properties.
Okay, sir. Thanks.
Okay. So only thing is now I can just further elaborate your question. If you are using sugarcane or starch, there is a food crisis may come, because if you are using so much of starch for producing the plastic, and then the food crisis may come. That's why in India, we are being agriculture country. We can look for producing the non-edible starches. There are so many species where we produce the non-edible starch can be produced. So that starch can be used for, it can be agriculture, can be used for making plastics. As you mentioned, there is one more challenge in this making bioplastics. Like in petrochemical industry, the ethylene producing is a very simple process. The cost may vary here because you have to produce ethyl alcohol, fermentation, then you have to purify it, and then in the 99.9% purity ethyl alcohol you need it. So that you have to dehydration process has to be subjected. Then you produce the ethylene gas. So the cost of the raw material is more.